Hello guys, I'm Giovanni, former high stakes player with 8 years of experience, and now I'm focusing on helping players crush low and mid stakes. The focus today will be on how to improve your red line. So I will be talking or highlighting spots where I think most players mess up the red line, and I will make you aware of exploits to take. And also I want to talk about or show you that you don't need to overcomplicate the things. You will see me using a lot of range bets in SC bets, and I think this is a big problem that I see a lot also in my students, is that when they come first to me, that they play way too complicated and mix everywhere, and this is not needed. So I will show you my approach, and after that video you will go out with exploits that you can directly implement into your game, and also just making your game more simple. So you will start playing more simple and more efficient. So let's just jump into it, and then let's see what's coming up. The exploits that I will be showing also will be applicable to not only NL50s, will be also, I think, till NL500. I think most of these exploits you can use. I will be mentioning if something is only for the lower stakes, or if it's not applicable, let's say for higher stakes. Here we want to open directly 3x. We want to deviate also already pre-flop. I want to play very exploitively, adjust my range as well. I don't like to play strict ranges, so I have a fundament that I have in mind, but then I always look at my specific table and adjust accordingly to the situation. So here, for example, we have two very nitty players, small blind big blind, sorry, and then we want to just get very aggressive with the open races from the button. Here, for example, it's a perfect example of where people start to mix a lot, and you can just get away by range betting, keeping it simple. Whereas recreational, normally we want to expand our pods, we want to go very loose, but he's playing only 26 VPIP, so it doesn't seem to be a huge recreational, and 8-5 is already then very close. Something if I would see that this guy would have been a bigger whale, then maybe I can get even in there with 8-5 offsuit. If you're 100 big blinds deep and he's playing 50 VPIP, then I think it would be even fine 8-5, but on the closer side, here we 3-bet. I think here we just shove. Oh no, I think ace queen suited plays well also. It's just a 3-bet or squeeze. I'm not sure how big I need to go, to be honest, in this splash pots. Probably 15. Probably I went too big here, but not sure. I think now we do just a good board for us. I don't think we need to go that big, so I will size down to smaller c-bet. Even smaller, probably fine. Here we have a recreational in the big blind, so king 3 could have been open with him, but okay. I think you can have here quite a lot of this king jack, king 10 type hands with backdoors. So I see more value there in checking and letting him over bluff there. That's a very weird sizing. I don't expect him to bluff now. His 12 big blinds on the river, so maybe just get it in with king jack, or I don't know. Here now clear check on the turn. Versus the small blind, we need to be a bit careful with the range bets. Because villain's range gets much tighter, of course, than big blind. Therefore, on boards where you can usually range bet button with big blind, you need to start, even range check becomes in the better simplification. Something like a good example would be probably something like 10, 8, 7 or something like this. Yeah, I want to mark this guy directly as a bigger fish. Just noticed that I have the sound of the tables pretty loud. Just turn it off. I don't think we need it. Yeah, here again with a small blind. On that board, it's still fine to range bet. So I ask myself, is there like range bet or range check? One of these options. If it's like losing way too much EV with both options, then I would go with the mix. But this is usually in single race spots, it's not often the case. Pretty rare. Yeah, just call, fine. I could also squeeze and try to isolate the recreational. Would have been also okay, but the king check off goes already. It's like very loose. I think on the turn we don't want to just bet our. Like I'm thinking, do I want to also bet my 10x? Probably yes. Then I would need to use kind of like a. Yeah. I think this sizing makes least sense, to be honest. I didn't have time. So either I go a bit more depolarized, like smaller, and rep also 10x, or I polarize to check and yeah, on that run out with 2 callers, just an easy give up. If I have a diamond, then I could potentially bluff there. Without diamond, just a clear give up. Here we have a spot, so like 50 hands, 51 VPIP, so you want to isolate very aggressively the recreationals, especially such a big recreational here. I think with the Spectres it's fine to continue with a c-bet on this king eye board and potentially barrow some turns. You just range bet on king 5, even multi-way. We do very well on that board. I think barreling the turn and giving up the river, it will be the best option. We really don't mind, like it's also recreational there in the big blind, so I really don't mind showing up or like showing down the jack high. That's not something that I would do as regular, but yeah, whereas the recreational it should work quite well. On the turn he will have plenty of like low pockets or like 9x, this type of hands that a regular would usually not have there in the spot. Call the trees. It's a decent board that we check raise. Again, like pretty frequent, especially when they range bet. He's not range betting. So also here I would make a note on, like, for example, on this type of boards where people sometimes tend to range bet. And when I see that they don't range bet, then I make a note. Here I think we can go for a medium-sized bet and high frequency. Like this I can also bet my 7x. We don't want to only polarize to like straights or the trips. We want to bet also for protection there. This type of hands. I would normally open the king 7, but yeah, the small blind, big blind seemed pretty loose, so you will see me sometimes like opening even king 3, king 4 offsuit, but then holding king 7. So really depending on the table. Here I like jack 8. Sometimes it's a 3-bet. Exploitively we can go up with the frequency. With the like I like to go higher in frequency with the hands that I would mix, let's say, or that theory is mixing. I think a 3-bet like this should be fine. Again, I'm not sure about the sizings here. I didn't study the splash spots. But probably also most of the other regulars or like players are also like they usually don't study this. So everyone is kind of freestyling there mostly. Called it by 4. Here again a bigger recreational. Only 3 hands, so that's why I look always at the hands. 3 hands is not really of course not a big sample. It's like a very small sample, but he's having a broken stack, so this is already enough to go a bit more aggressive. I think here we need to already fold or check raise, but I think when the player there bets half pot into 2 players, it's pretty strong, so we just fold. Calling there, I think it's not good. Here we want to size up with the recreation in the big blind, and yeah, we just don't want to invite, let's say, the button in the big blind, the small blind. Kind of like king 8, king 9, I think fine to 4-bet. King 5, we just fold. Because if you go 2x, yeah, they can just call very wide with the recreation and the big blind, and I kind of want to have him heads up the recreational. Let's fold. Usually when the recreational is there being like 50% or lower or smaller, then it's a pretty weak range and you can attack him very aggressively. But yeah, this guy was short, so then I'm just doing nothing. Ace-10 could also 4-bet sometimes, but not when we are deep. Like when we are so deep, we kind of shift more to suited Ace-X, suited King-X. So just a bit more playability also post-flop. First the small open, I think Ace-4 can get in there. It's getting close. Where's the MP call, and he's a recreational. We just play our hand. We need protection, so we see bet. Just fold here. I think totally fine also to bet one more time, and we can just bet half pot and play our hand. Need still protection from overcards. And now my hand wants to either check call, or but I like more the block versus like 7x, 6s, 5s, 8s type hands. So you see, like, you can just really play out your hand strength versus the recreational. here was the recreational. I also like to implement some limps, to be honest, with this type of hands. Yeah, like queen 8 is a pretty bad hand, but we are with two recreationals and we just need to play like 0.5 just to complete. I think it's fine. We check back the turn, we will attack the river. If he's bearing, we just give up. Call the 6s. I think some low pockets get also into the 4-bet, but yeah. Rather do it with 5s. Here it's, I think, a nice spot to open wider with the king x offsuit. To be honest, I missed that he's so short. But anyway, like king 6 is fine because it's blocking the his like shoves quite well. So I much rather open the king 6 offsuit than something like 6-5 suited. I think mostly we just check this one down, 6s. I don't see a reason why we should start betting this one. And now, like, we will have some raises, some calls. This time I call this at the end. And here we range bet. Here again, a nice example where people tend to overcomplicate their life by implementing like some, probably like 3/4 and mix, like this here. But so the solver will most likely choose here like a mixed strategy, but you don't lose much by simplifying. So turn we polarize and king 10 doesn't get in there anymore, and people's big blind. I go something like king check plus with an overbet on the turn, and river we have a bet. You need to also look always at the timing of a very fast check on the river, which is interesting. Usually when they river some, or like when they have some nutted hands, especially when the board is changing on the river. So for example, if he makes there a 2 pair with something like 8-7 there, he would consider the option of like betting. So when they have snap decisions, then usually like much weaker. Like if you see a snap decision there, just go here. The low monotone board. I think it's fine to. Yeah, to be honest, not 100% sure. Monotone boards are very rare, and usually like the low monotone boards are better because we have the higher flushes, let's say. But yeah, he has 6s, 4s, 3s, so he has the set advantage, and I think then it will be better. I think the range check here will be better, but not totally sure on that monotone board. Here again, players start to mix here with like 40-50% mix strategy, and just range bet. And there's raise call. There's a pretty clear check, and then there's a bet. We need to see what we do. I think we start folding now. Oh, yeah, this sizing looks pretty weak. I think I can turn my hand also often into a bluff on this run out. I want to turn now my hand into a bluff. I think with the king club blocker here, we just call. He has plenty of this type of hand, so check call outperforms a lot. Yeah, I think we need to go quite polarized. Pot size or all in? I think all in. Usually I go 2x, but yeah, I was thinking here about the sizing, which one makes sense. Oh yeah, we have like all the ace-x clubs and not many ace. Yeah, this is very hard for him to find bluffs in my range. So I really like this play. This call, yeah, like I would just make a note that he's just stationary. Because usually if you think about the range there, it's very hard for me to find there. Like for example, a very intuitive bluff would be for me to have something like ace in clubs blocker, but I don't really have them here in this line. So usually when he calls in this pool, this type of hand, he will run most of the time into the ace high flush. But yeah, nothing we can do. I would just make a note. Here we 3-bet, and here we can range bet still. And on this king 6 deuce, we can even do like some 40 to 50% range bet. It's performing better than the small range bet. On the turn, I think we have a pretty clear check now. When we polarize, we need to be a bit careful, to be honest. I didn't look at the stack sizes. So when we are deeper, his nutted advantage in deuces and sixes will change the strategy. Just quarter, fine. I think on the turn we could have also some mergey bets. Yeah, I like it. Especially we play versus recreational, but also versus regular. I don't mind. So I'll check. We call. It's a pretty good board for my range. But yeah, nothing we do here. Here again 3x because of this big recreational. You see, like he's calling very often. So going 2x or 3x is in the long run, it has a pretty good effect, and also it plays into the red line if you consistently like. You just get the recreational more often heads up, and yeah, in multi-way spots it's just harder to win the pot without a showdown. Let's say you can play more aggressive heads up, and you just also get the folds more often, more frequent pre-flop. Range bet here again. Don't mix this type of boards. It's my recommendation. Whereas 2.5, I think we can start folding, especially when they open tighter here. UTG MP, a lot of players here, they tend to open very tight, and then king check offsuit plays very, very bad. It's very dominated. So here we have again a recreational, so I will be opening. Okay, just hold. I think this will start to mix the sixes versus big blind, 3-bet. Let's call for the videos, but normally, yeah, like around 50%. So here you're better off to even overfold a bit than call here all the time. And then there's also a red line thing. So too often you will get then into the scenario where he will be barreling you off from the sand from this weak hands with his too strong range. And I mentioned if I deviate, because for the video I just want to get more involved into post flop scenarios. So where's 2x? I think something like king 5, king 4 becomes close. Exploitively, you can 3-bet there more aggressive if you know that villain is usually when they go 2x they also open wider, so you can 3-bet more aggressively. But king deuce is already like too extreme. Like I said, I like to go with frequency hands, more frequent. Like this, I don't give away also. I don't give too much information, let's say. Here, easy open with the 13 VPIP guy there. Yeah, this is kind of the spot where I was saying with the small donks from recreationals, we want to play aggressive when it makes sense. Like this hand makes quite a lot of sense. We'll play aggressive. We can barrel turn king, jack. We can barrel the flush turn. So here this will be probably a mix, but again, because of the video, we will be a bit wider. On the turn, we play a pretty polar strategy, like king, queen plus, and this type of sizing, like a pretty big sizing. The thing is, the only thing there is that he will have quite frequently the 9s and the queen 9 in his checking range, so it could change the strategy a bit on the turn. So that maybe a 150% overbet would be better than this like very big geometric size. Here. Can open bigger. Here we want to sucks a bit because he opens 3x the recreational, but yeah. Versus recreational, you can play 2 lines, let's say. So either you go small flop, medium turn, and let's say big on the turn on the river. Something like 75 to pot size, or you check back the flop and see what he's doing on the turn. So if you face like a small step on the turn, so you get extra information about villain's hand strength by checking back the flop, and then you either when he checks, you start bluffing all your air type hands. Let's open here. It's a pretty weak hand, so exploitively I just don't care now, and I just want to get cheaply involved with the recreational. If you play like let's say a smaller pool where they can actually like where they can spot this sizing tells that you go sometimes 2x 3x, then you need to be very careful, of course, and avoid this type of things. But yeah, this line there where you can, where's recreational also on the flop, you can check back and wait for the turn. If he checks to you, you bluff your air, or when he's stabbing 50% or smaller, it's also very weak. So then you can start just racing with your air type hands, like, and anything that doesn't have enough showdown equity, you can just raise and barrel him off on the river. A big bet to put like max pressure on him. Sometimes isolation there, but let me check. He's checking to me. Yeah, usually also when they limp, probably they have not enough ace-x, so just easy steal. If he would think about ranges, so because he's recreational there, he was short stacked. That's why, like, I think he will not pick up on the fact that I myself don't have like that many ace-x when I just check and don't isolate, let's say. Here again, power would mix. We will simplify. When you create your simplified strategies, you just want to see, you want to give yourself kind of like a threshold, let's say, how much you're willing to sacrifice for the simplification. I would recommend even 1.5% is fine when you're an unexperienced player. 1.5% lose like off the pot EV loss, and then you just work your way down, let's say, in time, and get more closer to GTO in time. And first you want to implement mixes in spots where you really, like, for example, range check and range bet loses let's say over 1.5, so like maybe 2.5. So there are the first spots where you want to put like some more study in and implement some high quality mix strategies. It's a very weird check there on the king queen 3. Usually when it's a very easy range bet board and they check, I'm a bit more careful, because yeah, the air type hands usually have like a very easy bet. This is a bit yeah, we are very recreational, and he's giving us now like just a setup, or like he's just telling us, hey, I'm weak, so just take the pot. So this is also a red line thing. Whereas regulars is more the thing, like when they check back on boards where like king queen 3 rainbow, for example, it's very suspicious, and usually it's like a range that doesn't contain enough air and too many medium strong hands, medium strength hands, or like weak top pairs, this type of hands. But whereas this range you want to be a bit more careful. Here I missed, to be honest, that we have here recreation in the big blind, so I should have open raised bigger. Here was just the 3-bet. The problem that I have here a bit is that he's very inclined to just call with something like king jack suited, king 10 suited with the recreational behind. So I think we want to do less and when we check raise, we want to go a bit bigger. On the turn we would barrel with clubs. Without, I just give up. On the river, I think mostly just checking. I don't want to set up, let's say when we block here, he could turn something like queen check into a bluff, stuff like this. So just down. This is like, well, yeah, this was the point that I wanted to make. So it's nice that my intuition picked this up pretty quickly, is that it's way more likely that he has this type of hands here. King queen off, king jack, or like king jack off, no, but like ace queen off. And this type of hands I'm comfortable to keep in, let's say, with the ace king off. And just play like because it's pretty hard to play then when we 4-bet, he calls or he re-raises, we are out of position, we are deep, a very a pretty bad spot, let's say, to be in. And with the fish in the with the recreation in the big blind, his range construction will be more polarized. So it makes more sense than for me to call the ace king off than 4-bet. Because usually when he has king queen suited, queen jack suited, they're more often low, like this nines, more often eights, more often. Then I have more value in like going for 4-bets and go for value. Yeah, very, very easy bet on the river. This is like again, red line thing to just find this river bluffs. He could aggressively check raise me now because I'm pretty capped. But usually the players are not aggressive enough here. And they overfold, so you want to be very aggro in this type of lines. Here we will go for the check and see what the recreational is doing on the turn. Like I said, there's two options. We have, you see, like now he goes for the small bet. He gives us the confirmation that he's most likely, not 100%, but most of the time weak. So we go for a raise and we will bomb the river. Again, this is of course also red line is happy about this. So deep we could call the pockets. Yeah, usually the population, or like, it's very tricky to play out of position when it's deeper, because for example here he's better off like just, he needs to check quite a lot because we have 6-5, we have 6s, 5s, we have like a nutted advantage, and we can stab quite often here. Pop, which sizing, like 1/3. We can stab more often when they miss the check raises, and they're like too passive with check raises. And here we can just range bet, simplified. In theory, a big bet and check would be probably the better thing. And here, yeah, now we just want to check back, realize our equity. He checks pretty quickly. Yeah, no, we try to do something here. We want to induce a raise. The thing is that when he snap checks, I take away a lot of his flushes. And the thing is that also players tend to, they usually don't pay attention to their own sizings, timing tells. So when he snap checks the river, he takes out the most of his flushes. And when I show them weakness, it's very tempting for him to kind of try to represent ace high flush or something, because I'm also kind of kept. When I check the turn, which ace high flushes I'm checking the turn with. So I think it's then a very nice spot to induce and call off the race. So I would even do this play not only with the straight, I would do it also with, let's say, a set. Here we have high frequency bets. I think we could even go for like half pot and almost full frequencies. Look, the king is the best card usually there on the turn for us. Because we will improve to ace king, king queen, king jack type hands, and all our like ace queen, ace jack pick up equity. So king is really like the best. Can even flat here ace 3 suited. I don't mind playing in position with this type of hands sometimes. But yeah, rather 3-bet. Like, here we want. Oh, do we want to bet? Not really. Like if he has ace queen, ace jack, I want to hit him to hit like an ace. And now we unblock also pretty nicely. We block ace jack. We unblock the bluffs like king queen type hands. Just call. And now he can, I think, bluff quite nicely with something like king queen, queen 10, and 9 type hands. But yeah. Just a call. Okay, just has it this time. But yeah, pre-flop, I would like the 3-bet more here versus like, because he seems looser. But if you have a player like this Fritzy guy with 17 VPIP, yeah, if you 3-bet, you get 4-bet like way too often. So 10-7 off, probably not anymore. 10-8 off. 10-8 off is the threshold. You really need to be careful how that the villain is not too tight opening, because then you get the 4-bet very frequently. So then I rather just call the ace 3 suited and realize my equity like this much better. Play post flop. Here we open wider, 19 VPIP, and also like tighter guy here. Yeah, also like usually the in GTO it will use like a pot size mix, but again I recommend you to just simplify. Later on, like you can feel free to slowly implement mixes, and then usually this is one of the first boards that could make sense because it's the EV difference will be here on the higher side, let's say. But still not more than 1.5, especially when you include the mistakes of villain. So like how they react versus a small bet, they still play not optimal versus it. So here I missed a bit. I can go even bigger here, like 250% sizing I like to use when going small, and then turn brick on this type of textures, just to recapture like because the thing is we lose quite the issue with the small range bet is there that our like strong region like ace king, kings, ace queen type hands, they lose of course EV by going smaller, and we want to recapture it as good as possible by going then on turns like where nothing really changes. We want to go then very big, so you can implement then 250% sizing even when it's in the right spots, let's say. Here we have a big recreational, but 6 hands, so need to be a bit careful here. Very small 3-bet, that's interesting. I missed that we are deep. So I would need to go like 8, like 19 even, something like this, or 18. We are in position. Yeah, also, this is like also nice example. Just range bet. We will do totally fine, and you have a better overview over your range on the turn, and like you just it's just easier to think in ranges, train your ability to think in ranges when you range bet. Here we want to directly start with a big bet with recreational. With fives, for example, we could pot size, and because we unblock the ace x, the queen x. Yeah, this is a raise. We just fast play our hand. Need to be careful to not time out. I could make it maybe a bit smaller, but yeah, fine. I just was running out of time and I didn't want to time out. Here again, bigger open with the recreational. And here we have again this small donk, which is weak, and we want to attack. Snap call. Check 9 is also sometimes 4-betting. Let's 4-bet this time. And I think I will call and bluff some runouts. I could just raise the turn, but I think it's better to... Yeah, I'm not sure there, to be honest, when facing the turn donk again. What is better? To call and then bluff the river when he checks, or directly raising him? Whereas the 2x king 8 gets into the 3-bet some of the time. We roll aggressive, and again, like exploitively, we can go a bit more frequent. Like, you don't need to go from like 25% to 100, but you can go up to 50, maybe like from 50 to 75, just more frequent. Range bet on the board, fine. Turn. Yeah, I think we need to give up this one. We block now the king x, floats. Also, we would rather bet the king of diamonds than 8 of diamonds. So like, I think fine. And on the river, I think we have a bluff. And a sizing for my ace x type hands. For sure, we will be also having some, and I'm not sure if you have there even like some all-ins, to be honest, or like some very big bets. So I think if we want to simplify there on the river, we can simplify to just a 3/4. But usually, if you have there another 10, you're better off. For example, if you river their 9s, you're better off just betting big yourself, bigger, because they don't bluff raise, especially when you go 75%. They are not bluff raising nearly enough, so your nutter 10s really suffer from this. So also rivers, you want to be you want to have a good idea of like what in theory should happen, but then you want to always kind of know how to adjust. You want to know how to adjust based on pool tendencies, or like if you know the player well, to the specific player's tendencies. Eight, 7 off. it's getting fine versus tighter players. But it's already like borderline. Yeah, nines usually they will go like low frequency into the 4-bet, but yeah, versus MP, like we don't want to mess around with the MP. Also, like folding would be totally fine there. So always calling here again, like 9s, 8s type hands is also like a leak, and then overfolding to the yeah, just on the flop and then on the turn suffers also like your red line here. Not sure how to play this one, if you want to just jam or I think yes, or I'm not sure, to be honest. I just was, if this guy would be 100 big blinds with me, then I think it's a pretty clear jam, but I was unsure then when we are deeper with one guy, what then the best thing is. It's very interesting. We block queen 9. We have ace queen. We have all the strong hands. I expect a lot of calls, and then yeah, I would be surprised to get a re-raise, but he can have, of course, queen 9. It's only because I block it. It doesn't mean that he will never have it. Just thinking, do we? What is he repping for value? That's just my thing here, but he can have 6s and some 2 pairs. Yeah, let's don't level ourselves, but yeah, it's just interesting. What is he repping there for value? And it can be that you end up like noticing that he's just not repping enough value, and then you're kind of like often enough ahead versus like a to draw heavy type of range, let's say. I don't think that was the case there. You can have 6s, you can have still some queen 9s. Yeah, I like the play here. Just fold. Yeah, that's pretty. It's an interesting one. What is he bluffing here? In theory, I don't think my hand is ever a fold, but just my intuition. Like just, yeah, I could not pick up any kind of bluffs here. So I think it's fine to fold in the spots even when you have this type of hand, but when it's like very hard for villain to find the necessary bluffs. Here we open bigger with the recreational here. And this board will be fine to bet. If it's a bit higher, the pair, like for example 4-4-3, I would already not bet anymore because yeah, the big blind will start to get too many trips in his range. But yeah, 3-3-4 is fine. So I will sit out now, and yeah, that's it for this video.